Once again, you are welcome to our online math lessons, and this is the time you have the opportunity to ask questions based on your challenges. So in our previous lesson, we looked at graph of functions, and specifically we limited ourselves to linear functions, and we found out that linear functions, they have their standard way of writing them. So I don't want to go much into that. If you don't have the notes on that, you can go to the videos and then you check it out. But this is the question I have for you. You have to take a screenshot of it, and then I move on to the next page, and then you also work on that. So please take a screenshot of this question. I have another one over there. It goes as: copy and complete the table of values for the relations y1 is equal to 2x plus 5 and y2 equal to 3 minus 2x for x from -2 to 3. So they've actually started the table of value for you, but it's incomplete, so you need to fill in the spaces. Then after which, the second part of the question says plot the graph of each relation on the same graph sheet using the scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit on the x-axis and 2 centimeters to 2 units on the y-axis. Then the third part of the question says find the coordinates of the points of intersection of y1 and y2. Then lastly, it says determine the shape of y1 equal to 2x plus 5. Determine the shape of it. Yeah. So this is the first question I want you to try your hands on. Then the second question I want you to try your hand on is copy and complete the table below for the relation y equal to 2x plus 3. And so that's an incomplete table. So you copy and complete it. How you get to do it, it's up to you. But as you know, you always have to substitute the values of x into the function and get the corresponding values of y. Then when you're done with the table, which will give you a maximum of 2 to 3 marks, now using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit on the x-axis and 2 centimeters to 2 units on the y-axis, on a graph sheet, mark the x-axis from 0 to 5 and y-axis from 0 to 12. So ideally, per this question, you don't have negatives in it, so you are limited to just introducing only the positive sides of both x and y axis. So you go according to what the instruction says. Then when you are done, plot on the graph sheet the ordered pairs x comma y. So the ordered pairs will be coming from here. So it is 1 comma 5, 2 comma 7, 3 comma what? You need to find those ones before you continue. Then 6 comma 15. You plot them. Then it says with the help of a ruler, draw a straight line through all the points. Then finally, from your graph, find the value of y when x is 3.5. I believe we've done a similar one, and I know for sure you can get these right and then score everything. Please, are you all okay so that I move forward?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you for the response. So moving forward, there's something I need to add up before I move on to today's lesson. And what exactly is it? Now, I told you that when it comes to linear graphs, now there are two main types of linear graphs that you are supposed to know so much about. So we have the two main types being generated as a result of their nature of gradients. So we have nature of gradients of a line. There are two main kinds. We have when they are positive, when they have a positive gradient, and then we have when it is a negative gradient. So you know that the standard way of writing every equation of a line is giving us y equal to, yes, continue,
mx plus c.
mx plus c. Perfect. So when m is a negative number, when m is negative, then how do you expect the line to be like? The line must run from the upper left corner to the lower right corner. That is when you have a negative gradient. But when m is positive, then it will have the slope running from the upper right corner towards the lower left corner. So that is it. Now, I want you to find out something, and then you give me a feedback on it. And it's an assignment I'm giving to you. What if the line is vertical? What gradient are you expecting? And what if the line is horizontal? What kind of gradient are you expecting? What if the line is vertical? And what if the line is horizontal? What kind of gradient are you expecting for these two? That's a question mark I want you to find out for me. Find out the kind or the type of gradient, the type of m. As again, for negative gradient, it runs, or in other words, we will say that it descends. So you can say that it descends. And then for positive gradient, it ascends. Meaning, as the s values increases, the y values also increases. So automatically it's going to have a positive gradient. But for negative gradients, as the s values increases, the y values decreases. Please note them down. It's very, very key. It's very, very important. They can ask you questions on that. Are we all okay? So that I'll move on to today's lesson.
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So moving forward, today we are going to look at what we call graph of quadratic functions. Graph of quadratic functions. Now, in as much as the nature or the rule for linear function is given as y equal to mx plus c, when it comes to quadratic functions, they are given as y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, or you can equally have it as f of x equal to as squared plus bx plus c. So that is the general rule for all quadratic functions. The highest power of the variable under discussion is 2, where a, b, and c are constants. Where a, b, and c are constants. The x and y are variables because they can change, but the a, b, and c are constant. And a is never going to be equal to 0. And a is never ever going to be 0. Now, why do you think that a can never be 0 in a quadratic function? Why do you think a, which is the coefficient of s squared, can never be 0? Why do you think so?
Please, I think it will make the whole term zero.
Okay, so it will make the s squared term 0. And when it becomes 0,
Yes.
then it nullifies the standard of quadratic, or it does away with the quadratic nature, and it changes it to linear, because when a is 0, it will be left with bx plus c. And when it is left with bx plus c, then it means it is leading you to a line, a straight line, and no more a curve. Now, moving forward, in as much as whenever you plot the graph of linear function, you obtain a straight line, whenever you plot the graph of quadratic function, you obtain what we call a parabola. So the nature of graph of quadratic function is a parabola. It's a parabola. When you draw the graph of a quadratic function, you obtain a parabola. And in this sense, per our studies, there are two main parabolas that we must be cautious of. We have when it is minimum, and then when it is maximum. And I want to go detailed with respect to minimum and maximum. Now, if we should change this shape to become like straight lines, then it means that it's going to be like a V pointing downwards. So when it is pointing downwards, we say that it is minimum. Minimum for the fact that if it's an arrow, when you consider the Cartesian plane, you realize that the y values become smaller as it goes towards, or when it goes downwards towards the negatives. So it makes it to be minimum. Please, are we all clear?
Yes, please.
And maximum for the fact that if we change or we turn this um, calabash turn upside down to become two straight line intersecting, you realize that it moves upwards. Then upwards of the Cartesian plane, it means it goes to the positives and the higher numbers of y values, and hence it becomes maximum. Please, am I clear?
Yes, please.
Again, apart from you sketching to determine that the graph is minimum or the graph is maximum, it can never be both. It is only one of them. Either it is minimum or maximum. When it is minimum, there's a factor in the quadratic function that determines that it's going to be minimum. Likewise, there's a factor in the quadratic function that determines that the graph that you are going to draw is going to be maximum. When a is negative, automatically your graph must be minimum. When a is positive, automatically, sorry, when a is positive, rather, when a is positive, your graph is going to be minimum. But when your a is negative, your graph is going to be maximum. We'll take an example so you remember it easily, even though I'm just saying it for now. When the a value in the function is positive, you are going to obtain a minimum value, or a minimum graph. And then when your a is negative, it means you are going to obtain a maximum value. Please, is it clear?
Yes, please.
All right. So far, let me pause for question if there is any.
No question.
No question. Good. So again, When you are asked to draw the graph of functions, you need to note some points to consider before you start drawing the graph of function. So number one, you need to know your rule, as we actually have a fair idea on when we were drawing the graph of linear function. So you need to know your rule, and your rule must always be stated as y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. As I said, before you draw, you should know whether the graph you are going to draw will be minimum or maximum. And to do so, it is the a value, which is the coefficient of x squared, that will tell you if it is positive, it's going to be minimum graph. If it is negative, it's going to be a maximum graph. I'll be asking some questions, so please note it down very well. So after knowing your rule, number two, you must have your domain. When I mean the domain, it means the x values or the x interval, the x values. So the values of x which you need to substitute into the rule to obtain the corresponding values of y. With the x values and then the the formula or the rule, number three, you make table of value. So after making table of values, which I've shown you how to do so in our previous lesson, then the final one is number four, plot the graph. Good. So when you finish plotting the graph, which will begin with plotting the points, then you join the points that you've plotted with a freehand curve, with a freehand curve, with a freehand curve. So please take note of this four major steps to consider when drawing the graph of quadratic functions. The graph of quadratic functions. Please, any question? Any question?
No,
All right.
please.
All right. Since there is no question, then we are going to take the first work example and then we plot the graph of it and then do others. Do others. Good. So I have my first work example here, which says that copy and complete the table of values for f of x equal to 3x squared minus 5s plus 4 for the interval -3 less or equal to x and less or equal to 3. This is what we are going to do. Copy and complete the table. So we are just to complete the table. And we said to complete the table, it's all about substituting the values of x into the original function and then writing your final response. Please, are we all okay?
Yes, please.
Good. So you can do that. You can do that in this form, whereby you need to spread out each of the terms. So you have your s value, you need to find 3x squared of the value. You need to find -5x plus 4 of the value. Then finally, you put all the entries together and then you write down your final answer. So let's do that together, please. Then I will teach you something, yes, alongside. Let's do that together. So we have 3x squared here. Let me maximize it a bit. I'm just going to use the same thing. I'm not going to use any different thing over here. Okay, so maximizing it, if the s value is -3 and want to find 3x squared, so we substitute -3 into x, and that is going to give us +9. +9 times 3. Please, final answer is what?
27.
27. So we have 27 here. Then over here is being solved. This is also being solved. Then we come here 0 substituted, it will be 0 squared times 3, giving us a final answer of 0. Then we come down to the next column. The next column has negative 5x plus 4. So it's going to be negative 5 times negative 3. Yes, any problem?
Yes, please. At the 27, I had negative 27.
You had negative 27 from your calculator.
Yeah, I placed it in a bracket.
It's supposed to be 3 into brackets, negative 3 close bracket before the square comes. That's how you need to program it.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So please, calculator is something like a computer, a mini computer, garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't program it rightly, it will give you some wrong information. So please try and then use it rightly. Okay, so we come to the next. We'll have negative 5 multiplying negative 3, which will give us positive 15, then plus 4. That will give us positive 19. Are we okay? Then
Yes, please.
the 27 that we have here added on to the 19, it gives us 26. Can I move on?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do the negative 5 times negative 2, then plus 4. Final answer is what?
14.
You have 14 here. Then how about the 0?
4.
So we have 4 here. How about the 12?
Negative 56.
Negative what?
56.
Is it 56? Did I hear it right?
Yes. 56.
All right. So we have it as 2 times negative 10. Are you sure? 2 times negative 10. Sorry, negative
Oh,
5.
sorry.
2 times negative 5 will give us negative 10. Then negative 10 plus 4. That will be
Negative 6. Sorry.
negative 6. Yes, don't worry. I
Negative
know
6 was. I'm so sorry.
that is why I don't like sometimes we using the table, spreading out the values before substituting. Sometimes it confuses students a lot. I understand you. Yeah. So we have negative 6 here. Then now we put them together. So 3 plus 9 will give us 12. You put your 12 here. 3 plus negative 1 will give us 2. 12 plus negative 6 will give us positive 6. Then finally, 27 plus negative 11 will give us what?
16.
Pardon? 16. So we have copied and completed the table of values. We have copied and completed the table of values. Please, are we all okay?
And please, can you go about the f of x again?
Okay, so the f of x is actually a combination of everything here. So it is this term minus that term plus that term. But you realize that
Okay.
we've separated it into two parts. The 3x squared on its own, and then the next two terms also on its own. So when you are able to find them separately, then you merge them by adding. Then you get your final answers.
Okay.
Are we all okay? I hope you've copied. Just copy the function and then the range. Just copy this, the function, and then the range. Copy f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. And then the interval is negative 3 to 3. Just put that one down. I'm going to show you how you can use a calculator to generate your table of values directly. So that's what I'm going to use. So using the calculator. So let's say that you face a scenario whereby they say copy and complete the table of values, and it's not being spaced out in this order. And you are not limited as to what method to use or how to generate your table of values. So you can work smart by using the calculator. So that's what I want to show you right now. Let me go call for my calculator. Can you all see it now? Just the calculator screen. Can you all see it?
Yes, please, sir. I can see.
Yes, who else can also see it so that I can move on?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is
Yes,
how,
please.
so I want you all to take your calculator and you follow what
Sir,
I'm
please
going
me.
to do. Please, all of you, get your calculators ready so that you follow what I'm going to do. You learn it once and for all, so that in the subsequent questions that I will give to you, you try using the calculator to generate your table of values. But always remember, garbage in, garbage out. If you program it wrongly, it will give you a wrong response. Can I start?
Yes, please. Yes, sir.
All right. So I know most of you are using Casio calculator, scientific calculator. Now this one is a modified one for online. Therefore, I need to complete my table of values. I'm just doing away with the 3x squared separately and then the negative 5x plus 4 separately. I'm just going straight to program f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. So all that I need to do is that I key in the mode button, go to mode button. Please have you pressed the mode button?
Yes, please.
Now you see a bouquet of programs which includes computation, complex, statistics, base n, equation, matrices, table, and vectors. There are more. If you use the arrow here, the navigation key, you scroll down, you have inequality, ratio, and you have distance also there. But that's not what we are interested in. What we are going to use is programming with tables, because the table of values involves tables. So you key in number 7, press number 7. Please have you all pressed number 7?
Yes, please.
When you press number 7, it displays
Yes,
f of x.
sir.
Any question? I'm moving forward. F of x equal to. So it means you need to program the formula, the rule. So our f of x was 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. So you key in 3 and you go for x. So x, to call for x, you press alpha and then x. Alpha and then x. So you key in the alpha and press on x. But it is 3x squared, so we square it. Then minus 5, then alpha again, and then x. Please, I believe each and everyone is following what I'm doing.
Yes, sir.
Then plus 4. Then plus 4. Please, have you all been able to program f of x equal to 3x squared minus 5x plus 4? Have you all been able to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Now, when you are able to program the formula, then you press the equal to button. you press the equal to button. As I told you, my calculator is a two-way, like it's a modified calculator, so it has more functions than yours. So you press the equal to button. Now when you press the equal to button, my calculator is asking for another function, but I don't need another function, so I can press the equal to button again. Then, so I believe yours, when you press the equal to button, it comes straight to start. Is it displaying
Yes, please.
start? Good. The
Yes.
start, the start talks about the interval of the s values. The start talks about the intervals of the s values. When you press the equal to button again, it will go to end, meaning when you start, you are starting from 1. But our range of values of x was not starting from 1. It started from what number? From -3. Do you remember? Do you remember it started from -3? The range of values of x. It started
Yes,
from
sir.
-3. So it means you are going to change the 1 to become -3. So you have to key in -3. Then you press equal to. When you press equal to, it goes to end. The end tells you the last number of the interval. What was our last number for the interval? It was what number?
Number 3.
Pardon?
Number 3.
It's 3. It's +3.
Yes.
So you key in +3. Then you press equal to. When you press equal to, it displays step. The step tells you the differences between one s value and the other. So from the table, you remember the s values began from -3, came to -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So what is the difference between one s value and the other? It is 1, right?
Yes, please.
So you key in 1 and press equal to button. Please, are you all ready?
Yes, please. We
So
are.
when you key in the equal to button, automatically the table will be drawn for you. The table will be drawn for you. So it will show, or it will display 3 columns. The first column is numbering of the items. The second column is the s value. And the third column is the f of s value. Please, can you see it on your calculator like that?
Yes, please.
So when x is -3, f of x is 46. When x is -2, f of x is 26, sorry. When x is -1, f of x is 12. You see the others are not displaying, so you have to use the navigation key to scroll down so that it will display the other entries. My people, are we all okay?
Yes, please. I have a
Yes,
question.
please.
Okay, I'm listening.
Please, you said the steps. It stands for what?
The step,
It talks about the interval.
the step tells you the difference between one s value and the other.
Okay.
Yes. So this is a bonus idea I'm giving to you. You can use it for linear, quadratic, cubic, any kind of function at all. You can program. This is for life. So you just have to be smart and know when to use it as such. Any question before I switch my screen? Then we'll go to plotting. Any question?
No, please.
All right. So this is how you can copy and complete a table of values for a given function with the given interval. Good. Moving forward, this is one work this time around, we are going to draw the graph. When you are done, then you are going to use your graph book to get everything done. Then you answer some questions on it. But we are not going to answer the questions today. That is going to be another time. There are a lot of questions that they can ask you when it comes to the graph of functions. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to program and give me the table of values, and then we'll use a table of values to plot the graph based on the interval given to us. All right, so in this case, our function is, let's say, y equal to 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. This time around, the interval is not from -3 to +3. It is from -3 less or equal to x and less or equal to 4. And hence, we need to make our table of values. So I'm just making a sketch of the table of values. You have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please kindly program it and give me the corresponding y value. So these are the x and that will be the y. So within 2 minutes, you should be able to finish with the table of values. Let me copy it and then we'll go to our graph, because you just have to follow the instructions.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, so if you are done, I'm so happy for that. Kindly share your values with me. When it is -3, what is y value?
46.
Pardon?
46.
36.
No, 46.
46.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay. So we have 46 here, followed by
26.
26.
Yes, sir.
Then,
Now,
12,
then,
4,
4,
then,
2,
2,
then,
6,
6,
then,
16,
16,
then,
32.
32.
32.
Yeah,
All right. So that is it. So draw the graph of f of x for the domain using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit on the x-axis and 2 centimeters to 5 units on the y-axis. Use your graph to estimate. So as I said, we are not going to answer these questions, but we are just going to limit ourselves to drawing the graph, just drawing the graph. Now, if you look at the kind of data we have, or the kind of points you are going to plot on the graph, for the s values, it has both negative and positive numbers. So there is a need for us to show both. But for the y values, it has only the positives. So it means we don't have to waste our time showing the negatives that much. You need much of the positives. So you don't just have to get up and then draw a cross and then after that you clean your lines. No, you need to plan and know where you can position your x-axis line before the y-axis line can be shown. Please, am I clear?
Yes, please.
You plan before going to plot the graph. So let me just copy this graph to my graph
sir, I have
page.
a question.
Pardon?
I have a question about the table.
Okay, I'm listening.
Sir, is it really necessary to show reckon? Like when you're finding the y?
Okay, it is not mandatory that you should show working. It says either copy and complete the table. We are not interested in how you had the answer. The only thing that we know is that all the values must be right. And that is why I've shown you another way of getting the values right in a very short time and using the calculator, unless you are asked to show working. Then you don't have a choice than to show everything. But trust me, when it comes to awarding marks for table of values, it's just a maximum of 3. So we are not always interested in the student showing us a calculation of how he or she had the answers. No, we are not interested in that. All right, so now I have my graph paper here, and I believe it is similar to the one we use for examination. Please, can you all see the graph book or the graph sheet? Can you all see it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is my table of values. So we are going to plot the graph. We are going to plot the graph. The highest value for y-axis is 46 and the lowest is 2. And remember, we are using a scale of 2 centimeters to 5 units on the y-axis. So it is 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 40 something. We need up to 50. That one will help us. So per the graph, the standard graph that you are having in the house, I believe when we start zero line here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, I believe that line will be better. So 5, 0, 5, 10, let me point over there. If I put a point here, 0, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I think it's okay. So let us bring in our x-axis on this line. Then our y-axis will be here. Therefore, it means we put our arrows here, y, then we have our x there. Then you write your scale there. Even though the scale has been given to you, just write it. So 2 centimeters to 5 units on the y-axis, and then 2 centimeters to 1 unit on the x-axis. You just state it there. Then you have your 0 here. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and then 50. That's enough. You make sure that your bars shows exactly where you are. Please, I believe each and everyone is following, because you'll be doing the others. Good. Then we have -5 here. -10 will be down here, even though it's not needed. Then we have -1, -2, -3. Then we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Good. Good. Let us plan before we plot. Now, how many smaller boxes can you see from one line to another? The smaller boxes from your graph sheet must be 10 boxes. If you don't know, I'm telling you, you should have 10 boxes. But remember, these 10 boxes is equivalent to 5 units on the y-axis. So how about one box? One box will be equivalent to what? So you use proportion. It will be 1 times 5 divided by 10. So it's going to be 5 over 10, which is what value? Which is what value, please? 5 over 10 is the same as what? half, which is 0.5, which is 0.5. So it means every one box on the y-axis is representing 0.5. So two boxes will give you one. Two boxes will give you one. So if I should maximize it a little, now watch something. I'm going to maximize my screen a little so that you see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've maximized it a little. Let me where is this arrow thing? Okay, let me bring it here. So watch, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 boxes. Let me go here. I hope you can all see it. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So it means one box is 0.5, two boxes will be 1. So every two boxes is representing 1 unit on the y-axis. On the y-axis, every two boxes is representing 1 unit on the y-axis. Now, how about the x-axis? Now you are having unit of 1, so it means every one box is going to be 0.5. Every one box, sorry, yes, every one box is going to be 0.1. 0.1. How did I obtain that? Let me go back to my actual screen. Let me minimize it. All right, so I've minimized it so that I can come back to my normal page. All right, so this is what I have here. So how do I calculate for the value for each box on the y-axis, on the x-axis? This is for y-axis. For x-axis, 10 boxes is equal to 1 unit. So how about one box is going to be 1 times 1, which is 1, all over 10. So that is equal to 0.1. Please, that's how you calculate for it. We are planning all these things before we start plotting. Okay, so now that we have a fair idea of what we are going to plot and the value of each smaller box, then let's go ahead and plot. And in doing so, we have -3 going with 46. So -3 and 46, -3 is here, 40 is here, 45 is here. So 46 will be 2 boxes away from 45. So that will be somewhere here. So you put asterisk there. That's 46. Then -2 and 26. -2, 26. That will be 2 boxes up of 25. So that one to be somewhere here. -1, 12. So -1, 12, -1 and 12. 12 will be 4 boxes away from 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which will be somewhere here. Let me put it here. Then we have 0 going with 4, which is somewhere here. And then 1 going with 2, which is 4 boxes from there. So we have it somewhere here. Then we have 2 going with 6. 2 going with 6. So 2 going with 6 will be somewhere here. Then 3 going with 16, which will be somewhere here. 4 pairing up with 32, which will go up all the way to somewhere there. So this is the point. This point, as you can see, is not in a straight line. I hope you agree with me. I hope you agree with me. That is not in a straight line. Are we all here?
Yes, please.
Yes.
But it's in the form of what? It's in the form of what?
A curve.
A curve. Therefore, you just simply have to use freehand to join them. You use freehand to join them. If you drink drinks, then you are in trouble. So you use freehand to join them. Turn smoothly. So what kind of curve have we obtained? Is it maximum or minimum curve?
Minimum.
It's a minimum curve. It's a minimum curve. This is a minimum curve. Any question on how we draw the graph of this function, quadratic function? Any question? All right. Since no one is saying anything, then I believe that each and everyone has understood our lesson on quadratic functions, graph of quadratic function, and
Yes,
how
please.
to plot it. Please plan
Yes.
before you start drawing. Plan before you start drawing. Now, in as much as we finished drawing and then we also found out that it's a minimum curve, I told you early on that you can also use a function to determine it. Remember, our function was f of x equal to 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. I believe I'm right. I believe I'm right. Then we said that the coefficient, when the coefficient of x squared is positive, it gives us a minimum curve. So it confirms it. Our coefficient of x squared is positive 3, and it's confirming that it's a minimum curve. If this x squared, the coefficient was a negative number, it would have been a maximum curve. But for this, we are having a minimum curve. There are a lot of questions when it comes to asking or knowing something about your quadratic curve. It includes the intersection of the curve with the x-axis. Then it will come to the line of symmetry, equation of the line of symmetry. Then it will come to the values of y as x increases, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. So I have one question here, and I would like you to screenshot and try a hands on it and give me a feedback on quadratic curves. One is here. Kindly screenshot it. You, for the meantime, just draw the graph. Then the other part of it will be done later on. Because in my next lesson to come, we'll be looking at how to determine the roots and then how to determine the maximum and minimum values and so on and so forth. So just screenshot this question before we move on. Please, have you done that?
Yes, please.
Okay, then another one too is here. Okay, so this is what I have for you for today. So I'm going to leave the rest of the period for you to try your hands practicing these questions that I've given to you. If you don't have any question, then I'll say a goodbye to you for today. If not, your questions are welcome. Once again, thanks so much for joining the lesson and also subscribing to my YouTube channel. Keep on supporting, and then let's all make math easy to understand. You can inbox me any challenge if you are facing um, whilst you work on the questions. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
You too, sir. Bye.
Bye.